Imagine this scene. You wake up one morning. The money in your pocket is still the same. Your salary hasn't changed. But in just a few hours, an entire country's reputation has been completely destroyed. No war was declared, no bombs exploded, not a single soldier crossed the border. Yet billions of dollars simply vanished into thin air. And the reason? Not a country, but one man asking the right question: how long can a central bank stand against the market? The date is September 16th, 1992, one of the quietest yet most devastating days in financial history. The world would remember it as Black Wednesday. Money is, in truth, a story. We look at a piece of paper, a number, a screen, but what makes it valuable is belief. People believe. Markets believe. Governments believe. The problem is this: when belief collides with reality, someone always loses. Almost every financial crisis begins at this very point. At some moment, leaders, investors, and central banks say, "This shouldn't be happening." The market simply replies, "But it is." That's exactly what happened to Britain. In the early 1990s, Britain was still a big name. London was one of the world's financial capitals. The pound sterling was once the currency of an empire that ruled half the planet. But the past never guarantees the future. At that time, the British economy was struggling with high inflation, weak growth, and rising unemployment. Despite this, Britain joined the European Exchange Rate Mechanism, ERM. The system said the pound must not fall below a certain level against the German mark. In other words, even if the market screamed so, the government would say no. This is like building a dam across a river in the financial world. You can hold the water back for a while, but as the pressure builds, either you open the gates or the dam breaks. Britain was determined to keep the dam closed. Markets don't shout. They don't make headlines. They don't hold press conferences. Markets whisper. A few big funds, a few banks, a few experienced traders were all seeing the same thing. This price isn't realistic. The pound was more expensive than it should have been. That meant expensive exports, low competitiveness, slow economy. Under normal conditions, the currency would have fallen, but it wasn't allowed to fall. And that is an open invitation to speculators. There's an unwritten rule in finance. If something is being forcibly held in place, it will eventually break. Now a name must enter the story. And this isn't just any name. George Soros, a name that, when spoken in the financial world, changes the air in the room. George Soros was born in 1930 in Budapest, Hungary, to a Jewish family. During World War II, under Nazi occupation, he survived by using fake identities and escaping. So even at a young age, he learned, systems collapse. The one who sees what's coming, not what is, survives. After the war, he went to Britain and studied at the London School of Economics under Karl Popper. There, he didn't just learn economics. He thought deeply about uncertainty, human behavior, and fallibility. That was Soros's difference in finance. He saw markets not as mathematics, but as the sum of human mistakes. In the 1970s, he founded the Quantum Fund, and for decades, that fund became one of the most successful hedge funds in financial history. By 1992, the fund he managed was worth over $10 billion. He personally held billions in wealth. And most importantly, he understood exactly how central banks think. The stage was set. In the summer of 1992, the pound was being held at around £1 sterling. It's almost equal to 2.95 DM within the ERM. But according to market analysts, its real value was in the 2.60 to 2.70 range. That gap was critical because the German economy had low inflation, high productivity, and strong industrial infrastructure, while Britain was battling high inflation, stagnant growth, and weak competitiveness. In other words, the pound mark parity was completely against economic reality. What Soros did was simple yet massive. He borrowed huge amounts of sterling from major banks. He sold those pounds on the market. In return, he bought German marks and US dollars. This was a classic short position. The logic was straightforward. If the pound falls, I buy it back cheaper. I repay the loan. The difference is profit. September 1992, first week, Quantum Fund began selling billions of pounds. The sales were done in pieces. But it didn't take long for other big players in the market to notice. September 14th to 15th, the selling accelerated. Other hedge funds could practically smell Soros' position. The feeling that something big is happening spread from ear to ear. At this point, Soros' position had reached about $10 billion, becoming one of the largest currency speculations in history. There was no turning back. September 16th, 1992, morning hours. The pound was falling rapidly. The Bank of England stepped in. Interest rates were raised from 10% to 12%, but the market didn't stop. Between 11 o'clock and 1300 hours, the central bank started buying pounds from the market. Foreign reserves began to melt away. At 1400 hours, the government announced interest rates would go to 15%. It was an extremely rare event in history, a central bank raising rates twice in a single day. This was the British government's last bullet. It didn't work. Inside the government, Prime Minister John Major was under enormous pressure. Chancellor Norman Lamont was sweating, in full panic mode. Queen Elizabeth II wasn't directly involved, but the developments were being reported to royal advisors. Did they know Soros was behind it? Yes, partially. Central banks could see which banks were making huge trades, which funds were aggressively selling. But they couldn't know exactly. George Soros just pressed this button. Still, the market was buzzing. This is Soros' doing. His name was spreading like wildfire. 1900 hours. Collapse. Britain surrendered. They exited the ERM. The pound was set free. At that moment, everyone understood the market won. By the end of the day, the pound had fallen to around 2.16 DM against the German mark, far below the minimum level the ERM required. The system had become impossible to sustain. How much did Soros make from this drop? Approximately $1 billion. In sterling terms, a net gain of around 10 to 15%. What did Britain lose? Nearly 20 billion pounds spent from central bank reserves. About 15 to 20% of reserves evaporated. A massive loss of reputation. But the real loss was the most important thing in any financial system: trust. This story isn't about Soros being very smart. It's about how opportunities are seen. 1. Pay attention to things that are being forcibly held in place. A price, an exchange rate, an asset. If people say it shouldn't fall, there's risk there. 2. Watch the big players' panic moves. Rate hikes, sudden announcements, contradictory statements. These are signs of weakness, not strength. 3. Stand with reality, not with the majority. Soros was alone, but he was right. 4. Opportunities are born in crises. A crisis is not just loss. It's also an information advantage. This story shows us one thing. Money doesn't side with the powerful. It sides with the one who sees the truth. In the finance sector, we look behind the headlines. We chase reasons, not just numbers. If you want to understand the hidden side of finance, you're in the right place. You'll find many more powerful financial stories like this on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.